There was one more question about could we have a continue inside of a switch? And what I was saying was before is that people might not understand why this would even make sense to do this, but that's because breaks can also exist inside of loops, and loops can also have something called continues. This break syntax has absolutely 100% nothing to do with looping. So I know it's the same word, it's the exact same keyword, it looks the exact same, you say it the same way, but it is not in any way related to the concept of looping whatsoever. This break is a concept that is owned by a switch, and we know it's owned by a switch because it appears inside of a switch block. So yeah, actually, Wick, I think you can do that. I've never done that, and I wouldn't recommend doing it. I'm not going to talk about what you said, but I actually think you can do it. So yeah, that's a switch. It's a special form of an if statement. Why would you want to use a switch statement? Well, just for syntax. I mean, does this look cleaner than the equivalent if statements? Then use this. That's all I can say about it. The reason we didn't introduce switches when we talked about if statements is because in reality they do very similar things. A switch statement is simply a more specific form of if statements, or a collection of if statements, and that's it. You use them for purely stylistic reasons. I encourage people to practice them because any new syntax that you run into will seem very alien when you type it out the first time. Just practice it a few times, get it in your head at least as far as how the syntax works, and if you find yourself in a position where you think in the back of your mind, wait a sec, a switch would actually look kind of nicer than an if statement here, then use it. Just remember, there are lots of limitations to switches. Namely, we can only have constant values inside of our cases. We cannot have expressions. We cannot have case less than 2, for example, and so on. So there are restrictions to how you use them.